I played 25 games as Huntress, and the results were, well, rather interesting. But before we get into the video, there are two things I need to inform you of before we get into this. First, I am pretty new to Dead by Daylight, so if you're expecting high-octane gameplay, don't. Just don't. Go somewhere else. This isn't where you want to be. I'm a complete noob at this game. I have little to no experience. And that segues pretty much perfectly into my second thing, this is my first time playing Huntress. Like, these games, this is my first time ever playing Huntress, period. The only thing I knew about Huntress going into this was she's a funny lady that throws hatchets. That's all I got. That's all I knew. So, yeah. Let's just say this is going to be rather interesting. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and if you do, please hit like button, subscribe, do all the other YouTuber stuff. And on that note, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video, everybody. Game 1 of this little extravaganza, and I got Ironworks, a map that I generally feel pretty indifferent about. However, today was not my day. This was kind of a bully squad, if I'm being honest. Yeah, this team caught on pretty quick that I am not a good Huntress player, nor am I a good Dead by Daylight player, and they took full advantage of that. I mean, just look at some of this gameplay. Buddy, you got blinded 3 times. What are you doing? What is that switch? Yeah, okay, this gameplay was atrocious. Okay, shut up. It was my first game of the day. It was bad. I don't want to talk about it. My Hunter skills are, definitely need a lot of work here. Not going to deny that. And yeah, in case you couldn't tell by this epic gameplay, things did not go well. They went so poorly that this team nearly all got out alive. However, thanks to an absolute miracle, I actually managed to get Elim. Lord praise the entity on that one, because, oh boy, this was a bad game. This was a really bad game. And the one Elim I got was an absolute miracle in every regard, so I'm gonna take my one Elim, but yeah, this was a rough game, so let's just go to the next one. Game number 2, we're on Toba Landing, and this team was worse. They were just worse. Compared to the last guys, these guys were just trash cans with legs. And I really appreciated it because I needed the morale boost. This team was really bad. I'm just going to say it. They weren't very good. Now, granted, I didn't play particularly well myself, but still, I got some pressure. I was actually able to get consistent hits. My hatchets were very, very hit or miss. Some of them really did well, and some other times I threw some pretty god-awful hatchets, but I would say it was about a 50% accuracy rate with the hatchet, which, that's not terrible. It's not great either, but, it's not awful. Anyway, as for the game itself, yeah, I mean, this team, they were kind of bozos. I mean, they were good with generators, but they were pretty bad at, well, let me just carry the one. Everything else. They weren't great with unhooks. They weren't very good in chase. And my hatchet skills, while they did suck, they moved in about the most predictable manner imaginable. They basically just did, ooh, zig, zag, with no, deviation. So I just fired the hatch in the middle, and I had multiple occasions where they just ran right into it. Or sometimes they just ran in a straight line and hoped for the best. So, yeah, let's just say this team was really bad and didn't really get a lot of opportunity to show off my sick hunter skills, if I'm being honest, because this team was just not very good. Moving on. Game number 3. So, what a bunch of bozos these guys were. So, the best way I can describe this team is they all had a really bad case of the lead leg, and they just ran in about the most predictable patterns you can imagine. So while my hunter's hatchets normally wouldn't be able to hit the broadside of a barn, these guys just didn't make any evasive maneuvers. They just ran in a straight line and hoped for the best. And yeah, I may be bad, but I'm not that bad. So they kind of got deleted overall. Not to mention that these guys in chase were just embarrassing. I mean, if I'm able to catch you this easily, you're doing something wrong, because I am terrible at this game. So yeah, I would say more, but this team just, they weren't great. However, something I will mention about this game is snowmen. You might have noticed this is all going on during the Christmas event, and this is my first Christmas at Dead by Daylight, and I'd be lying to you if I said the snowman didn't jump scare me a few times. Also, the snowballs confused me. So, there's that. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, let's move on. Game 4. So, for those of you who are veterans of this channel, and when I say veterans, I mean you watch my 2 Dead by Daylight videos I've made thus far, you might be familiar with this pattern. In the early game, I accomplished, carry the 1, divide by 3, nothing. I didn't accomplish anything. The mid-game, how much did I accomplish? Let's see here. 1 plus 1 equals fish, divide by 2. I also accomplished nothing. And how did the end game go? I killed 3 people. Yeah, I don't know. This was kind of a wild series of events. The early game, utterly atrocious. But for whatever reason, whenever it's 1 gen left, I just dial in. And it wasn't like it was a 3 gen or anything either. Like, the gens were very spread out. I just kind of popped off. I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. I'll never get it. Maybe I perform better when I'm stressed. I don't know how this all works, but I don't know. It was weird. I just kind of popped off at the end. And as for the actual gameplay with Huntress, I mean, it was pretty horrible right up to the end. And as for hatchets, I mean, they weren't. I don't even use them that much because honestly, I feel like most of the time with hatchets, I just end up wasting my time and missing my shot, and it makes me sad on the inside. So I kind of just resorted to good old hack and slash, which I mean, you know, it worked. So that's that. I don't have anything else to add. Apart from, you know, the whole snowmen thing still confused me, but, you know, we'll get there when we get there. Moving on. Game 5. For Game 5, I decided that, you know what? Let's embrace my inner pickup artist. And I decided that I'd be throwing an overzealous amount of hatchets. And like a true pickup artist, I fired off about 20 shots without landing a single hit. It was fantastic. It felt really good. I mean, just look at some of this gameplay. What am I aiming at here? I just shot a wall. What am I shooting? This isn't nursed, you dummy. Anyway, you know what? Just forget about the hatchets. Let's just bury the hatchet. Oh my god, I really just said that. Okay, you know what? Cut. Just cut. Go back. Okay, so how did the game go? Well, this game was... I mean, it was good. I mean, in, like, the competitive sense. It wasn't so good for my pride or my ego, but... I mean, it'd just be like that sometimes. Yeah, in case you couldn't tell by the 20 missed hatchets, things didn't exactly go as planned. And, you know, 23 missed hatchets later. And the game is about to end. The doors are powered. The bad guys, or good guys, I guess, in the general case, are getting away. And I managed to secure 1 kill before doors are powered. I managed to secure 1 kill after the doors are powered. And the other 2 run away. That's the game. I don't know why I have an awkward pause here. Moving on. Game number 6, we're playing Treatment Theater, and for the first time ever, things actually went well, like, from the start of the game. It was really strange. I actually, like, got downs and hooks, and I did things. Although, granted, I would attribute my success mostly to the other team being, well, terrible. They made some questionable choices this game. I'm just gonna say that. I think the gameplay speaks for itself on this one. I mean, look at it. Did that man just try and jump in a snowman when I was chasing it? Yeah, I don't know what these guys are thinking. They were weirdos. And overall, the early game for this team went so abysmally terrible that it didn't really matter that they had a bit of a comeback towards the end. It just wasn't enough. And, well, one of them could have escaped, but he decided to taunt me, and I had no ed, and I insta-downed him, and I hooked him. And yeah, I got a 4K this game. I contribute this less to me being good at the game and more to this team deciding to suck. So, moving on. Game number 7, and my problems with this game happened before the game even officially started, because this team had a P72 on their team. Yeah, that was pretty problematic for a few reasons. 1, he's good at the game. 2, he's good at the game. And 3, he's good at the game. So, that wasn't particularly great. Thankfully, his entire team was glue eaters. They were really bad. I'd argue they played worse than the last team, because at least the last team had a bit of a comeback at the end. This team just ate glue the whole game. It was actually really impressive, honestly. I'd also like to point out that this game, I think I did genuinely play better. Like, in the past, I kind of like to overuse my hatchets, like, a lot. This game, I'm like, okay, I should maybe chill on the hatchet throwing, just a little bit, and yeah, that really pans out. Also, you might notice that I'm still tinkering with my perks a little bit, and I think the perks I selected this game were kind of a winning combo for me. I don't know, everything just kind of worked out. The perks worked out. The team was kind of bad. My hatchets were actually decent, so overall, I actually had a good game here. Like, I played well, and this team didn't, so moving on. Game number 8, we're on Mountain Resort, and this game was average in just about every single way. Like, my early game pressure was okay. Wasn't great, wasn't terrible. My mid game pressure was okay, not great, not terrible. And my late game pressure, I got 1 kill, and then this team just kind of rolled over. I'm going to be honest. It was kind of a snowbally game. Like, the first, 5 minutes of the game were just kind of consistent back and forth. Like, you know, the classic tale of, oh, I chase a guy, get 2 hooks total, they get a generator, and then, you know, repeat that 3 times. And we're in the end game. 1 guy's dead. The other 3 are trying to, you know, get the last generator, and they just don't. They kind of drop the ball at the last second. And you know what? I'll take it. I'll take the victory. This team was actually pretty good, all things considered, but they just really dropped it in the last act. I don't know what they were doing, but I'll take a free win. So, moving on. Game number 9, and man, game number 9 this was actually a pretty brutal one. I'm gonna be honest. I did not have fun here. This was kind of tough because Huntress's main power, that being the hatchet, just doesn't work super well on this map most of the time because there's about a million different rooms, corridors, tiny little tight turns and all that stuff. It's rough. It was a rough game. I'm gonna be honest. My pressure was pretty lackluster for the early game. Mid game was a bit better, but not by much. And honestly, there was really only 1 player on this team I could really catch in the chase, which I did. Although it did take me, you know, a majority of the game to actually get him on death hook and kill him. But I still got a elimination. But in that time, the team got all 5 generators, and the doors are powered. I did manage to, you know, take another one with me, you know. That was pretty nice. Got a second elim, but then the other 2 just left, and it was a tie, and that was that. I 100% blame this tie on Underground Complex, because that map is just brutal. For Huntress, at least. Anyway, moving on. Game 10, and we are on Mother's Dwelling. God, do I knew... I'm neutral about Underground Complex, but Mother's Dwelling... I don't like this map for either side. I hate playing it as a survivor, but I probably hate it even more as a killer because there's so many stupid little loops and corners, and my hatchet collides with everything. It was a miserable time. It was just a bad time. Sprinkle on the fact that this team was just cracked at the game. They were just really good. I'm not even going to try and cover that up. They were good. They were very, very good. They were great in chase. Their generators were absolutely immaculate. I mean, they were good players, and it definitely showed here. I also didn't play this particularly well. My hatchets didn't hit a whole lot because, like I said, this map, the hatchet just collides with literally everything, and it was just not a fun time. I got looped, I got played, bad time. The only reason I got an elim at all this game was because of Noed, and that's pretty much it. The other 3 managed to get away with pretty much 0 wounds on them. They got it without a scratch. And I was able to secure 1 elim, and that was that. So, overall, pretty rough game. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Let's move on. Game 11. So, I could give you a really in-depth analysis here of Game 11. However, I'm just going to let this small clip speak for itself. So, yeah, they left the game. One of them left the game immediately after they decided to turn off their brains, and I'm going to be honest, this team still put up a pretty good fight. Considering they were down a man, instantly, they still did really well, and I genuinely think if that guy, wouldn't have just given up on himself, I think they could have beat me here. But, you know, that's what you get when you rage quit within the first 2 seconds, so... Game 12, and all I put in my notes was the map is the Yamamoto Estate, or Yimoto. I forgive my pronunciation, but you guys can see the map on screen, so it doesn't really matter. Anyway, this game was pretty brutal to start out with. This team was just really good. Full stop. They were pretty good, and I had a really hard time catching them. I had such a difficult time, actually, that I didn't get a single hook by the time they got 3 generators. It was a rough game. However, for whatever reason, after they got 3 gens with essentially no consequences, their brains just kind of deactivated, for lack of a better term, and they played really, really dumb. Like, really dumb. They had this game in the bag, and they just threw it all away. I have no idea. I don't think I've ever seen a team choke this hard. It was actually really impressive. Like, I played bad. My hatchets, I mean, yeah, my hatchets were actually okay this game. They weren't utterly atrocious, but they weren't good either. And obviously they were really good in chase, but as I said, their brains just kind of stopped functioning halfway through. So I was able to get the win somehow. Yeah, this was such a bizarre game in so many metrics. I don't even know where to begin to describe it. So let's talk about something else. Perks. You might notice that my build is a little bit funky here. And that's because it is really funky, because I still didn't really know what a good Huntress build was. You gotta remember, I didn't like look up any guides or anything to Huntress. This is my first time ever playing Huntress, and I have no idea what perks work well with her, like at all. I just kind of started throwing things to the wall and pray that they stuck. So, I don't know, my perks are still weird. This team was also weird, and this whole game was just weird. Game 13, and man, this was... Oh, this might be my worst game yet. So, this team was good. I mean, just look at these levels. I was having a bad time. This team was just better. Like, just straight up, they were better. I'm not even trying, like, sugarcoat it. They were better than me. I also got meat treatment plant, which I don't like that map. It was really bad. Like, really, really bad. I was also still trying to experiment with perks. That also wasn't really working out for me here either. On top of that, my hatchets didn't really hit anything, apart from maybe the wall, but, you know, that's not what I'm aiming for. Yeah, this was just a bad game. I got smoked. It was a really bad time. I couldn't catch nothing. I couldn't stop the generators. I couldn't stop the doors from getting powered. I genuinely felt so powerless. And it's not like this team was a bully squad or anything. It was like, I couldn't find them, and when I did find them, they were just better. They just looped me for days. My hatchets hit everything that wasn't them. It was overall just a bad time. So, moving on. Game 14. Man, Game 14, what an immaculate showcase of the incredible lobby balance in Dead by Daylight. Let's see here. You have me, who's played this game for about 2 days, and you have this guy, who's P100. Yeah, this seems fair. I don't see the problem here. Yeah, fun fact, it was a problem. So, how did the game go? Well, not as poorly as you might expect. So, while the P100 was, unsurprisingly, completely untouchable, heck, I could barely even find the P100, so I just decided that, okay, I'm never going to catch the P100, I accept that, so I'm going to go for literally everybody else. So that's exactly what I did. And thanks to this surviving team having goldfish brain IQ at times, I was actually able to get hooks. I was actually able to get pressure. Now, granted, this team did get generators, but I was able to do something, which is actually rather surprising. Fast forward, we're at the end game, one guy's dead, the doors are powered, and I managed to sneak in a second elim, and the P100 in his infinite wisdom decides that, you know what? I can't win this. It's not like I've been juking this guy the whole game. I couldn't save my teammate. That's too much to ask. So he just leaves. So, you know, P100 kind of played himself on that one. He could have 1,000%, like, done something. I don't know. This team was weird. Like, they could have 100% saved their, like, teammate on a hook. It was a 2v1 plus another one on a hook. Like, all they would have to do is just take a hit. I don't know. It was so weird. I don't know why they abandoned their teammate. It made no sense to me, but I'll take it. I'll take a tie. Moving on. Game 15. So, what kind of lobby are we going to be dealing with today? Oh, what's that? Another P100? Oh, okay. Man, that seems fair. Yeah, this went so well last time. Why is the matchmaking so piss poor in this game sometimes? How is this fair? Look, I get that there's not skill-based matchmaking, which is a good thing. I acknowledge that, but like, at least have like a level ceiling or like a prestige ceiling of some kind, so I don't fight this. This is just sad. This is really, really sad. And, well, you know, the game didn't go horrible. I'll be honest, you know, barring all the dramatics I just gave you, this game actually wasn't that bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't a cakewalk by any stretch. It was still a brutal game. My hatchets accomplished approximately nothing, and chases were very long and very painful. but I still was able to get some pressure. It was actually, you know, it was pretty neat. But, I mean, beyond that, it was kind of I did kind of get smoked here. And if I'm being honest, I played this really bad, especially in the end game. I made some god-awful decisions here. Like, it was so bad. This game could have very easily been a tie, but it just, or sorry, not a tie, a win, but it just wasn't because I just made some really dumb choices here. I should have just slugged this out. I should not have gone for hook. There was like a million small decisions I made that were just dumb in hindsight, and yeah, I lost. Well, I didn't lose. It was a tie, but it felt like a loss. So either way, let's just move on. Talking about P100s makes me sad. So, how can I describe Game 16? This team was absolute and utter clowns. Also, P100, by the way. Game 17, and wow, this was a rough game. We were on Meat Treatment Plant, and the more I play this map, the more I hate this map, because, jeez, this map there's so many good loops, there's so many good places to hide, and it's just a huge map, even though it doesn't look huge. This map is just, this was a rough game. This was a really rough game. My pressure early game was utterly abysmal. I eventually got my act together, but it was too little too late, and by the time I did get my act together, this team was already gonzo. And as for my hatchets, man, I don't get hatchets. They are really confusing. At this point, I still didn't really know when to throw the hatchet, when not to throw the hatchet, when to prime the hatchet, when not to prime. I was still trying to figure out the whole hatchet thing, because I had the mechanic down. I just didn't really know when I should and shouldn't use it. I was still kind of working on that, but overall, this game was rough. And another thing of note that is worth mentioning is you might notice that my perks, I finally managed to kind of lock in a build here, and I know this build is pretty generic, but you know what? I like solving my problems with blunt force, and this build is about as blunt as you can possibly get, so yeah. Anyway, moving on. Game 18, and I'm gonna be honest, you could have probably just removed my power to throw hatchets, and this game probably would not have changed all that much. This team was really bad. They had a P62 and everything, and they still just, nope, they were just bad. They were really, really bad. Their chases weren't very good. They just kind of sucked. And I'm going to be honest, as I already mentioned, I didn't really use my hatchets much, because I'm in the phase where it's like, every time I throw a hatchet, 95%, okay, that's maybe being a little overly dramatic. I'm going to say like 50% of the time, it just ends up missing horribly. And it's like, usually it's better for me to just swing at them and get a hit that way. I try and style on people with hatchets. The only person I style on is myself. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of refraining from using hatchets. I don't know, I was in a weird phase at this point. You might also notice that I said my perk build was going to be set in stone. Yeah, it's not. I'm still, you know, tweaking it a little bit. I'm still trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. And this game definitely helped, but this team was also really bad, so I didn't really learn all that much, and I was kind of just encouraging myself to keep doing what I was doing, which was not a very good way of playing, because, you know, I'm a Huntress. I should probably throw the hatchet every once in a while. Game 19. So, remember when I said that I was just going to mildly tweak my build a little bit? Well, I decided to say that, and then I proceeded to completely and utterly change my build entirely. Way to go, former me. Great note-taking on that one. So, yeah, my build is completely different now. I went for an anti-gen build, although, I will be honest, looking at this loadout, I mean, these are all good perks, but, like, this is just such a weird combination of perks. I don't know what I was really thinking here. This is kind of just random, so I don't know. As for the game itself, I mean, this team was solid. They were definitely a lot better than the competition I've been getting today. Well, barring all the P100s and all that nonsense. But overall, this team was actually pretty good. Although they did have one guy that was really bad, and that ends up costing their team big time in the long run. But yeah, I mean, the team was okay. Nothing notable, but they were all right. I mean, if you lose to me, you're not that particularly good. So yeah. As for my actual gameplay, I used my hatchets a little bit more, although mostly it just resulted in me embarrassing myself. But I at least tried. But I'm going to be honest, most of my kills were just the classic, you know, hack and slash, and that was kind of that, so. Game number 20. So, most important thing of note of this game was I decided to equip add-ons for the first time on Huntress, and all the add-ons really amounted to was just one extra hatchet, and I want to say faster recovery speed from a missed hatchet. I think. I'd have to double check that, but overall, first game with add-ons, so I think you guys get the point. And this team was... These guys were bad. They kind of rage quit on themselves, so the best way I can describe it is one of their teammates just decided that, you know what, I got hooked a total of 1 time, and I'm just going to commit toaster bath now. So that's exactly what he did, and after his teammate decided to commit suicide in the first 2 seconds of the match, this team was kind of screwed from the outset, but, you know, they still put up a pretty good fight, and I was able to find the other remaining 2. Notice how I said 2, because there was a third guy, and for the life of me, I could not find this guy. So I'm like, you know what, if I can't locate this guy, I'm just going to focus these 2, and that's exactly what I did, and this third guy remained elusive. What was this third guy's name? Batman. Batman01. I faced P100s. I faced bully squads. I have faced utter sweat stars, but I've never faced Batman before. And let me tell you, this guy actually kind of lived up to his name, because I could not find this guy to save my life. I don't know what it was. This guy was an absolute ninja. And it's not like he was just hiding in a corner somewhere. He was actively doing stuff. For example, when I would hook his teammate, like, I'd walk away for like 2 seconds, he'd get the unhook off, and then Batman would just vanish. Gone. Like, I'd be right there, and he just somehow disappears. I don't know where he went. I don't know how he got away from me that fast. He was just poof, gone. And then it happened again, where I ended up downing that guy who was previously hooked. I walked away, trying to lure out Batman. He got the res off, and then he just vanished, gone, boom, disappeared again. And I'm just like, I'm just scratching my head. I couldn't find this guy. And this was embarrassing. This was genuinely, I don't know, maybe this guy's just a ninja. I don't know. I couldn't find him. It was driving me insane. Although I eventually caught a very lucky break because his teammate kind of led me to him. And let me tell you, while this guy may have had the stealth of Batman, he did not have the moves of Batman, and he went down pretty quick, and after Batman died, well, this game was over pretty quick. But the fact that I was eluded by Batman for like 5 minutes is just kind of funny, so moving on. So, Game 21, I'm going to describe this as brief as possible. Actually, you know what? I think my notes sum it up best. God, I hate this map, plus flashlights, Sabo Squad, this team made me hate all my life choices, I killed nothing, I accomplished nothing, and that is the end of the game. That's what I wrote down. So I'm just going to take my former self's word for it and say that this game did not go well. So, moving on. Game 22, yet another game where I think I'm just going to refrain to reading the notes here. Another map I hate, against a squad that was just better than me. I got 0 pressure, couldn't end a chase to save my life, all the gens were done in an instant, and I got scammed out of a kill. I don't know about that last part, I'll probably have to show gameplay of me getting scammed out of a kill, but everything else, yeah, I watched the footage, and that sounds about right. Yeah, I was really struggling on the whole gen pressure thing, because, yeah, I couldn't end the chase, and these teams were just kind of clowning on me, so I was naturally getting a little bit triggered, so yeah. Game 23. So, after getting absolutely annihilated the last 2 games, I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be worried about generators as much and just be worried about just, you know, committing to chases, because I did have a bit of a commitment issue, because it's like, when I see they get 2 gens done while I'm chasing somebody, it's like, well, I should probably stop chasing this guy and stop this team from just winning. But honestly, I don't know, it's more of a game sense problem than it is a Huntress problem, which, you know, wasn't really the intent of this video, but here we are. So I just decided this game that, you know what, I'm gonna ignore the generators, basically. I'm only gonna kick them if it's convenient and whatnot. And you know what? That actually worked out pretty well. And another thing I learned in this game, which is a very valuable lesson that I wish I would have learned a lot earlier, is sometimes raising your hatchet as Huntress is just as dangerous as actually throwing the hatchet as Huntress, because the second the enemy sees you raise that thing, they're going to start panicking, they're going to start crouch walking, they're going to do everything they can to dodge, and most of the time that leaves them wide open for just a good old melee attack. And yeah, I wish I would have learned that a lot earlier, because that would have been really, really useful. And honestly, if I look back at some of my previous games, I could have done this so many times, where I had the enemy scared because the hatchet was raised, and I decided that, you know what, we're going to go for a swing, and then I just missed, and it was, yeah, you know what, you get the point. I'm going off script here. So, yeah, and honestly, this win, I needed this. This was a massive morale victory, and I will absolutely take it. So, moving on. Game 24. So, Game 24 was a very sweaty game. This team was very try-hardy. They very much were in a call together. You can just tell by the way they played. And overall, this was a very, competitive match. I use air quotes around competitive because, once again, if it's a match where I stand a chance, it probably wasn't a competitive match. But either way, this was interesting. This is kind of the first game where I just decided that, you know what, generators, not even going to bother with generators. I'm just going to be focused on chase the whole time. And you know what? That's exactly what I did. And turns out, it kind of worked out for me. I utilized the knowledge of, hey, why don't I raise my hatchet and then just fake it out and go for a swing? And that actually worked a few times. I even actually got some regular old hatchet hits, which is like the first time that ever happened. I think this is about the game where I started to get a general idea of, the hitboxes of the hatchets, what it can and can't hit. This was a very, very, transformative game in that sense, because I just kind of figured stuff out this game, and things just kind of worked out for me. But for the sake of storytelling, I'm just going to fast forward to the end game, because, to be honest, everything between that is just me getting a down and a hook, and then they get a generator, I get 4 hooks, and they get another generator, and then so on and so forth. Fast forward to the end game, one guy's dead, one guy's down, and the doors are powered, and it basically just became a slugging match, essentially. And after a very, very long back and forth, I was able to secure a second kill, and the other 2 were just narrowly able to escape. If I would have showed up 3 seconds earlier, I would have probably gotten a 3K here, but instead I only ended up getting a tie, which was kind of heartbreaking, but either way, you know what, we'll go with it. Game 25. So game 25, I decided to make things a little interesting, and I intentionally looked for a lobby that was really, really sweaty. And the lobby I was able to find a lobby with a P100 and a P70. So I'm like, well, this seems sweaty enough to me. So I gave it a shot, and man, this game was pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie. And I hate to say it, but I did kind of have to tunnel here. Although, admittedly, my tunneling was less, I don't know, how do I describe it? Insidious. It was more of well, this guy sucks, and he keeps running into me, so I might as well just keep hooking him, and that's kind of how things just sort of panned out. But overall, I didn't really get much done till the end game because this team was just cracked. I mean, I'm just going to say it. They were good. I did get some pressure, but not a whole lot. But thankfully, when we're at the end game, I'm talking one generator left / doors or powered phase, I was actually able to get some stuff done. I was able to get some downs, and it was a pretty intense standoff. It was to the point where there was one guy dead, one guy down, and then 2 guys were desperately trying to get the other one up. And fast forward after a long chase and/or slugging match, and I walk out with 1 kill, or not 1 kill. I walk out with an extra 2 kills total. Wow, I can't talk today. And the other 2 escape barely. Although something that's rather interesting is I ended up killing both the P100 and the P72, which is kind of funny because the P100 originally was up, but after the slugging, he got downed because he was trying to rescue his teammate. It was kind of funny. So, yeah, I may have lost, but it felt like a moral victory. I'll take killing a P100 and a P72 any day. That's a solid win in my book, so yeah. Moving on to the conclusion of this video. So, what did we learn about Huntress today? Well, for one, I'm not very good with her. And second of all, she's pretty hard. Honestly, she's pretty hard to play. Simple to learn and difficult to master. I gotta give Huntress this. She seems very balanced. Very good job in terms of game design. I gotta give you that. She's good. She's very good. Not too easy, not too hard, not overpowered, but not weak either. She's nice. I like Huntress. She's great. Good time. And, well, with that said, I hope you guys did enjoy the video. And if you did, please hit the like button, subscribe, do what it is do. On that note, stay strong, stay clear. Spitfire out.